Welcome back to our last episode of Embracing Midlife Change. And this week, the theme is thinking about the future. Now, at the beginning of this series, we talked about these life phases, how early on we're focusing on our purpose and our goals and our dreams. Then we're focusing on achieving them and acquiring material possessions, getting married, maybe starting a family. And then we move into the fulfillment phase. And this is where many of us are at right now. We may be transitioning into that, or maybe this is very much our core focus. And so this is what I want to talk about today, that in this phase of our life, it's very easy to kind of get caught up in what's going on right now, because as we've learned through this series, it's a really challenging time with our changing hormones, but also with all the changes that we're facing, in our relationships and our work and our bodies changing. And so we can find that, and I know I did, if you're like me, I kind of stopped really thinking a lot about the years ahead. I guess in part that's connected to not feeling good about getting older, maybe. And I hope through the series I've helped you feel a bit better about that and realize that this can be an incredibly rewarding time of your life where you can really start flourishing as the woman you're meant to be. So, how does thinking about the future help? Why is it important to kind of put a little bit of time aside to think about the years ahead? First of all, it helps us cope better with change because, as we've learned through this series, things do change. Life is subject to change. Circumstances are subject to change. And so, if we spend a little bit of time thinking about the future, we're a bit more prepared when things do start changing. It also helps us make better decisions now because we can kind of project into the future and think, what, if I do this now, this is where it could potentially lead, or what the consequences might be of that decision now, which is really important. It also helps us find more meaning in life, right? Because, life is about realizing our dreams and our goals and our expectations for ourselves. And if we stop dreaming, right, our life kind of loses that spark. I know there was a period in my life where I stopped making plans for the future and stopped dreaming because I was just felt so discouraged and down and under the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. And it was just really hard to think positively about what the future might look like. And maybe you're feeling like that, or you're in that place right now. It's really important to kind of find something, even if it's just the littlest thing of something you may like to do in the future, a goal or a dream that you have. It's so important to give you that spark back and that meaning in your life. And the last thing is it helps you feel connected to your future self, right? Because as we've learned in this series, we do change, right? We evolve. And that we found that many of us during perimenopause kind of feel like we're not ourselves. The change is so dramatic that we kind of feel like a different person. And so spending a little bit of time thinking about the future can help to minimize that feeling and make the change transition a lot smoother. All right, because we are going to be different, right? 5 years and 10 years and 15 years. And if we spend a little time thinking about it, we're better prepared and we have a place of peace as we move into the next phase of our life. So here are some things to think about. All right, am I happy? It's a really simple question. Maybe it seems a little silly, but we just don't tend to stop and ask ourselves this, right? We want to be happy, but we kind of, do we really say, am I happy? Am I really happy right now? Now, we're never going to be 100% happy. That's not realistic, right? That's not. But we can find a place of happiness, all right? So here's a little flow chart. Am I happy? Yes, keep doing what you're doing. Make some tweaks in your life. If you feel overall, yeah, I'm happy, right? That's great. I'm happy for you, right? And you can make some little tweaks just to fine tune. If you think, no, I'm not happy. Overall, in my life, in my circumstances, I'm not happy. All right, how important is this happiness in this situation? Maybe it's just one situation that you're not happy in, okay? Therefore, you need to make some tweaks. If it's a little bit, okay, you're going to make some tweaks. However, if it's a lot, you need to make some changes. right? If you're not happy and it's affecting your life a lot, then you need to make changes, all right? Because it's not going to change on its own, even though we wish it would, and we try to wish it away or wish the circumstances and leave it to fate. There are things you can do. And in this series, we've talked about many of those things, right? Making decisions, empowering yourself by changing gears, being open to change, trying new things, right? Doesn't mean you're going to do that permanently, but let's try it out. Let's give it a test drive and see how it feels, all right? And I'm going to give you some tips for this in a second, so stay with me. Oops, there we go. So the next question to ask yourself is, what am I most passionate about? Because that passion is what's going to fuel your motivation, right? It doesn't feel hard when you're passionate about it. It might be hard in terms of what you have to do and the effort and the time and the energy, but the actual motivation coming up from within flows because it's a passion that you have. So just take out a little bit of paper and write down some things you're passionate about in your life. Doesn't mean you have to do anything right now, right? But just do a little brainstorm and see what really floats your boat, right? This is so important. Remember, we talked about our sense of self and connecting to our sense of self. You might find that your passions have changed, that things that were really motivating and meaningful for you 5 years ago are not anymore, and that your focus has changed. I know that's happened for me, right? And once I recognized that, I was like, okay, great. I need to take hold of this and make some changes in my life. So, what do you love doing? What do you really enjoy doing, right? That really the time flies. That you don't even know that you've been there for an hour because you've been doing something that you love. What fulfills you? What makes you feel afterwards that kind of good feeling? It's those good feeling hormones, the serotonin and the dopamine that kind of feel good, and yeah, I really enjoyed that. What work do you do that doesn't feel like work, okay? For those of us, sometimes there's things that we do and the time just flies, like I said, and even though it's work, we actually really enjoying it, right? And that's such a blessing. I love my work, right? There are things that are harder than others and things I enjoy more than others, but I really give thanks, regularly for the fact that I love what I do, right? And I haven't always loved what I've done, right? I made big changes in my life, took big risks and challenged myself because I didn't enjoy what I was doing. I made hard decisions over the years, many times, because I recognized this is just an uphill battle. I really don't enjoy this. It can be done. It takes some courage, it takes a sacrifice, but you can tune in and kind of combine your passions with your work. All right, and the next thing, be how can you best take advantage of your experience and wisdom? All right, so by the time we reach our late 40s and into our 50s and onto our 60s, we have this accumulation of wisdom and experience that's unique to us. You have a unique set of skills, unique life experience and wisdom that can be used for the good, right? If we just take a little bit of time and think creatively. Now, here's the thing. Remember we talked about intuition last week and how that our subconscious mind processes all this information, and through our intuition will bring us up the answers. And so this is one area that has helped me tremendously in my life, is in terms of what direction I'm going to go, is giving myself permission to let that intuition, that gut feeling come up and give it time. Sometimes it takes time because the timing isn't right. You want to do something, right? But you kind of feel being held back because it isn't the right time. Let that intuition flow and it will guide you, all right? It's really powerful. Be patient. It's almost like having a baby sometimes, right? That it's in there. We just have to give it time to grow and it will come up and out when it's ready, all righty? Okay, so what can I do now to plan for the future? Good question. Here's some things that have helped me. The first thing is family chats. Now, what we're talking about here is practical things for planning for the future, right? This is a good question to ask yourself is, what do I need to do to be prepared for the potential changes in my life, all right? And some of those things are financial. Some are relationships, some are circumstances change. And sometimes having a family chat can really help. And sometimes we have to talk about the hard stuff, all right? We recently had a health scare with my mum, and it made us all realize that, hey, yes, we've got things in order, but there are some, laundry things that need to be done, the power of attorney, making sure the will's up to date. What are our wishes? Should someone pass on? And that's not just for our parents, it's for us too, because anyone could fall off the perch any time, right? So sometimes these things are important. Get your house in order. Right? Plan for the future, have some family chats, work out what's what and what everyone wants. And then we're much better prepared for when things do happen, all right? The second thing is do some housekeeping. Go through on a practical level, go through and chuck out a whole lot of old stuff that you just don't need anymore, that's weighing you down. Sometimes it's a lot of paperwork. I mean, over the years, I accumulated so much paperwork and copies of stuff, from years ago, and I never even looked at it, throw it away. You'll feel such a sense of relief, all right? So it can be your housekeeping in different areas. It can be these practical things, right? It can be, kind of letting go of some responsibilities that have been holding you back. And you've kind of recently felt, hey, you know what? I don't enjoy that anymore and I don't want to do it anymore. Do something about it. Clean up the house, all right? Nobody likes housework. I don't, especially, But when I've done it, I have such a great feeling afterwards, It's almost like after a workout, right? So it's the same when you get your house in order in your life. And also think about the legacy that you want to leave behind. I know for myself as I entered into my 50s, I became much more aware of my own mortality, that I wasn't going to be here forever, and I am going to pass away at some point. What do I want to leave behind me? And obviously, my work is a big part of that, knowing that I'm changing lives as many, many thousands of women around the world. And that's a great feeling. And that's just my passion, right? We all have different passions. There's other things in my life that I want to leave a legacy behind, right? After I've gone. And doesn't have to be a big thing. It can just be something small, but that's meaningful to you. Spend some time thinking about it. And I know for myself, it's brought a greater sense of peace thinking about the day when I will pass on, knowing that I'm leaving something behind. All right, does that make sense? All right, so here's a few important tips. Take small steps. This is the big stuff that we're talking about, right? It might bring up some big emotions for you. Don't try to get crazy on it, right? And do it all in a week or a day or whatever. Make a plan. Take little steps and then learn and then take another step. Right? This is important because we might think that we know the direction to go in and the path to go in. But as we start taking the steps, we might actually realize, oh, hang on a minute, I need to kind of make a detour or change direction because we're getting more information as we're taking those steps. So if we just make one big leap, the chances of making a mistake in the wrong direction are much higher. If we take those little steps, learn, and take the next step, we're much higher, much more likely to succeed, right, and go in the right direction. Right, traps to avoid is making assumptions. We talked about this last week. I tell you, if there's one thing you can take away from today is don't make assumptions. It's so easy to assume things about people and circumstances, right? And then base your decisions on those and then get a really big surprise, right? When it's not that case. And we recently had that with our mum. We thought that there was somebody there that we could depend on to be there for my mum. And then that was actually an assumption. We never actually had that discussion, right? And out of those circumstances meant we had a discussion and now we have the facts and now we're making a plan. I tell you, it was just the light went on. And even though it's my mantra, don't make assumptions, in this situation I had, right? And it takes you by surprise. So have those chats, find out the facts. The next thing is procrastination. Oy, oy, oy. I guess this is one of the areas, the most of the areas that we would tend to procrastinate because nobody likes to think. Some of these themes are a little bit unsettling, right? And upsetting even. And maybe we don't want to kind of face certain issues that are there. We know they're there, but we just don't want to face them. And so we put it off. So that's where the baby steps is really important. Even if it's just writing it down, right? Sometimes in my calendar, when I know I've got something and I don't really want to do it, and I know I'm putting it off, I put it in my calendar a couple of weeks away, and it's there. It's in the calendar, and I know that I'm going to do it when I get to that point. I've maybe procrastinated a tad by putting it ahead in time, but it's in the calendar. So try to manage your procrastination and worrying about what might happen. And we've talked about this too in the series, of kind of spending all this emotional energy worrying about what might happen. And it just makes no sense in the world because we've wasted all our energy on something that may not happen. Hey, it might happen, but let's cross that bridge when we come to it. Let's save the worrying and stress for when it happens, right? Because it's absolutely not doing you any favors worrying about that right now. You've got more important things to be putting your emotional time and energy to. Alrighty, so the next steps for this week is to write down what makes you happy and what you're most passionate about. Think about how you can amplify these things in your life. All right. So make a little list. Think about the things that really light your fire. It might be just 2 or 3 things. And then think about how you can maybe increase those things in your life this week. I mean, it's so unique and to each of us individually, right? So we need to spend some time thinking about us and our personal situation. As you invest a little bit more time into the things you're passionate about, you're increasing your happiness and life fulfillment. All right, it's that simple. And it's only a little thing, it's just shifting the needle, just that little bit. Remember at the beginning, we talked about that exponential effect. Just introducing one little change over time leads to a really big result, right? So I think if you do this little exercise, you'll be surprised and affirmed what a difference putting some energy into the things that you're passionate about can make in your life. All right, 2, stop worrying about what might happen and find out the facts. All righty, so say something's been weighing on your mind. Actually, in fact, today for me, that's pap smear, right? A couple of years ago, I had a few abnormal tests. I had to go back regularly, and then I let it, and they said, you're fine, clear, boom, and I let it lapse, and it's just been on my mind, and I'm like, you know what, Bill, do it. So today, I'm going and I'm doing it, right? So I'm going to get the facts instead of worrying, I let it go and it's been too long. And what might be, I'm going to get the facts. I'm going to get my passport, right? So it's that simple. Take some action. Don't worry about what might be. Get the facts. Do something about it. Make that phone call. Talk to that person. Google it, right? Talk to an expert. Get the facts on your situation. And 3, write one thing about the future you've been putting off dealing with. Take a small step toward it and dealing with it this week. Alrighty, so, maybe there's something like, like I said, updating your will, the power of attorney. It's hard to kind of get motivated about these things when we're so caught up with right now, but they're important things, right? So take a step this week to dealing with it. Dig it out. If you've already got one, dig it out. Have a look. Think about it. There's all sorts of things. Maybe it's the financial thing. Maybe it's like, look, I know I need to consolidate that and put it into a better investment fund or whatever it is. Again, the sense of urgency is not there because, it's not something that's in front and center every day. Do something about it, all right? And this is why talking and thinking about the future is important. The more we have our house in order, the more we're freed up to focus on now, right? To feel like we're living our life to the full and can put our full energy into enjoying life now because we're taking care of all these things, right? And it doesn't happen overnight. Remember, the baby steps, okay? Baby steps, step by step, but you're going forward. That's the most important thing. You're not stuck, right? In action. You're moving forward with action. So I hope you've enjoyed this series, Embracing Midlife Change. If you have, please leave me a comment under this video. I would really love to hear from you. I'd really appreciate your feedback, and any requests for future video coaching would be great, because I've got my little list that I'm working on, all right? So I'd love to add your requests to that. So thank you for joining me on this journey. You can go back at any time and watch any of the episodes, and I know they deeply help you, not only now, but in the months and years to come. So thank you for being a valued member. I really care about you. Alrighty, so I'll see you on the next video, and have a great week. If you've enjoyed this series, you'll love my YouTube members area, where you'll receive motivation, guidance, and support, plus my menopause nutrition plans, hormones handbook, and coaching videos. To learn more about what's included, watch the video below or click the link to join now.